Today I want to talk about a first for Jackson State in 10 years, and all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner
What's up, kid folk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, it is remarkable to say the biggest story in college football as of today is Jackson State. Deion Sanders is Jackson State. So let's start with positives, right? They moved to 3-0 after a 43-7 curb stomping of Mississippi Valley State. Delta Devils didn't have a chance. Delta Devils ain't very good. They were 2-9 the last time they played college football, and they're expected to be the cellar dweller in the SWAC East. But Jackson State was not picked to win the SWAC, and here they are at 3-0 with wins against Edward Waters, dramatic win against Grambling State, and then again that mollywhopping of Mississippi Valley State. Now, I don't believe that they're going to play their toughest game until they get to Alabama A&M on April 10th, but there's some games that need to be played between then and now. SWAC championship is supposed to go on May 1st. Now, also in there, Jackson State is ranked number 24 in the FCS Top 25 for the first time since 2011. It's also the last time that they started the season 3-0. And for those of y'all that don't know, they finished 9-2 in that 2011 year, and they finished in the top 25 in the final 2011 AP poll. There's a lot of time that has gone by between 2011 and 2021, and there is rampant optimism at Jackson State. But also in there, hey man, city of Jackson still ain't got no water. So let's get them some water. Like, it's great that they got a football team. It's great that the football team is great. Let's get them some water. All right? Okay. So that's a negative. That's a definite negative. But while Jackson State has our attention, let's see what they do with it. Because the game that they played against Mississippi Valley State was on ESPN2. And Deion Sanders had been very loud about this fact. By watching Jackson State play football on national TV, you are voting for Jackson State and HBCU football to be on national television. They're going to play another game on ESPN2 next week against Alabama A&M, and I expect that to be a little bit of a more difficult contest for them. But Jalen Jones is averaging just under 200 yards passing a game, 593 on the season. You got Dalen Baldwin, who's at 281 receiving yards over 3 games. That's a little less than 100 yards a game. He's got 5 TDs. Jalen Jones has 9. The offense seems to be matching the defense now because Jackson State has had a defense that could play for a little bit of while now. Like, they played outstanding against Mississippi Valley State. But Prairie View, I think, is going to be that team that comes out of the West. We'll see, because they get to play Alabama A&M and Akil Glass here next week. But Akil Glass, quarterback at Alabama A&M, thrown a bunch of touchdowns, also thrown, 3 picks in the only game that they played. I'm interested to see how far this goes because Jackson State is on its I believe. And I'm saying, Tigers, show us what you believe because you have our attention now. One is March, so those of us that don't care to watch college basketball are watching all of this FCS that you will give us. And there's been just all sorts of carnage up and down the FCS. Like CAA and Missouri Valley Conference and Ohio Valley Conference have been running this thing, right? And we understand that. That's Big Sky, so forth, so on. But they also been beating up on each other, right? So North Dakota is really good. North Dakota State has already caught an L, right? James Madison is still there at the top at number 1. But if you go through the top 25, you can see everybody's beatable this year. So if there was ever a year for the SWAC champion to make a run at, say, something like a national title, it would be this year and perhaps next year, because that's really what I think Jackson State's spring season ought to be about for so many. It should be about next year because they got 5 dudes that are Power 5 transfers and Shedeur Sanders on the scout team right now. It's a lot like Oklahoma in 2014, right? Back when Baker Mayfield, Orlando Brown, Mark Andrews, Dorial Green Beckham, and others were on the scout team getting ready to show you what's really good in the years to come. And that is the reason why I think most of us that are real dyed-in-the-wool college football fans are so excited about what Jackson State is and what it could be, because it wasn't that long ago that Jackson State was one of the best programs in all of football. Like, I was pointing out to folks that Mississippi Valley State at one point set a record for total offense and total points scored in a season that still stands, right? They were averaging 640 yards of offense and 60.9 points per game with Willie Totten and Jerry Rice in the Satellite Express. Now, the white dude would come at me and say, it's real easy to average that sort of yardage and put up those sorts of points with Jerry Rice on your team. And I would say to that same white dude, why wasn't Jerry Rice at Alabama then? Or Ohio State? Or Oklahoma? Right? These are all questions I would want the answers to in 1984. Okay? Also the year my parents got married, which means 3 years of marital bliss and then going on 34 years of damn kids. All to say there was a time when you could look at the HBCUs and you could see the best football that was being played, right? Buck Buchanan comes out of Grambling. He is the anchor on a defense that won the 69 Super Bowl, right? Otis Taylor comes out of Prairie View. He's one of the better wide receivers on a Chiefs team that wins a Super Bowl, right? Keep going down the line. You can see all these HBCU that were putting out these players. Ken Riley at FAMU, Bob Hayes at FAMU, Eldridge Dickey at Tennessee State. I can keep going because that's who I am, right? That's my heritage. That's your heritage. And the way that Deion Sanders is doing this thing, where he's being loud about it, and he is taking on what I expect every college football coach to do in being the carnival barker, it could work. I'm still skeptical of it, though. I want to know how this is going to work in the long term. I want to know what the kids are going to get out of it. I want to see the kids be elevated. I want to see if Dijon Warren, who was committed to Georgia and flipped to Jackson State and is playing, he's starting at corner opposite Alexander Shaw, ends up getting drafted. I want to see how many of these kids get drafted. I want to see where they get drafted. I want to see how he is recruiting, because the thing that is going to show me that Jackson State is really making a dent ain't going to be top 25s and even winning SWAC championships or even getting to a national championship. It is when top 4-star players, 5-star players that are white also want to go to Jackson State, because then you'll know Jackson State is building something that is taking the country by storm, and not just black folks, right? Because black folks going to be down for this. As a matter of fact, me just telling you what it is about how difficult it is for a top-tier recruit to go pick an HBCU over Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State, Florida, LSU, or so forth, so on, has elicited some measure of irritation from them, to which I'm going, bring it. I don't care. Get in the comments and tell me how you feel, because you having a feeling about this means that it matters to you. Whether we agree or disagree, I don't really care. Right? I know where I'm at on this. And until we are asking of those white players, why aren't you considering an HBCU? Then what are we talking about, right? Because then the idea of being a revolutionary doesn't really factor in. Because then you'll have everybody wanting to go to the same school, kind of like everybody wants to go to Alabama, Ohio State, so forth, so on, right? So when we get there, let's have that conversation. Because one of the things that I want to impress upon people is black folks make up 13% of the United States. 6% of them are black and male. You're asking those players to pick an HBCU, right? And when they're called HBCUs, because that's what they were. Because we had to create our own colleges and our own educational systems during separate but equal. And we are loath to give up our heritage any more than you're loath to give up yours, right? As long as what you're doing is not offensive to people, as long as what you're doing is not impeding someone's happiness, then let's do that. But these are all things that I want to keep talking about. And you know what? Jackson State winning football games gives me an opportunity to talk about them with you, because nobody would care if they weren't winning. So good on you, Jackson State. Good on you, Deion Sanders. Please know that we're all watching and you can't afford to miss. Deuces.